Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Hot Girl Guide podcast. Hey, besties, how are we? I'm so excited today because today we are talking about friendships, specifically in your late 20s, because that is my perspective on the whole thing. But this can apply to friendships throughout your lifetime. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure there will be something in here for absolutely everyone. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the fact that I am now on video on Spotify. So Spotify has enabled all its podcasters, at least I think so, to put video on Spotify. So if you've never seen me before and you've listened to this podcast, hello, hi bestie, how are you? I'm so excited to be on video on Spotify, and I'm so excited to see where this goes. I just want to, before we get into the whole topic of friendships and friends in your 20s and not having many friends in your 20s and social media and friends in your 20s, because I think that's a big topic that I want to cover today, I just want to talk about the hotgirlguide.com. Now, this is the only ad that is going to be in this podcast, so rest assured I will not be talking about anything else. The hotgirlguide.com is my own brand, and it is the confidence boost that you have always needed. So if you're feeling it's coming up to the holidays, it's coming up to Christmas, Thanksgiving, no matter where you are in the world, there are some form of holidays coming up in December, and maybe you're going to meet people, friends, family, old friends that you haven't seen in a while, and you want to show up as the most authentic version of yourself, then you can get yourself the Hot Girl Guide to Confidence. It is €11.11, complete digital download, ebook and audiobook. So no matter which one you would prefer, you can read it, you can listen, or you can do both. So that is available on the hotgirlguide.com. What else is available on the hotgirlguide.com? The Hot Girl merch. We brought out Hot Girl merch, and by we I mean me. I am a one woman show. I do everything behind the scenes, the web designing, the recording, the filming, the editing, the customer service. I do it all. These hoodies and crew necks, I'm wearing one right now. I'm wearing the maroon Be Your Own Biggest Fan hood. So it's a wine on wine, so there is wine font going across. All of these hoodies are ethically made and eco-conscious, which is very exciting. They are made to order, so there is not excess waste. They are so comfy. They're so cozy. There is free shipping worldwide, and no matter where you live in the world, you will be able to order the Hot Girl merch and wear it and support. So yeah, that is the only ad. Shout out to the hotgirlguide.com. So the first thing I want to talk about, I want to get straight into the juicy stuff. Friendship in 2022 and social media, and how that all works, how that works well in a lot of instances, but also how that can affect friendships. I think the two worlds are very interesting to look at, both individually and as a whole, because the whole idea of social media, like the reason social media was created, was to connect with more people and share your life with more people. And you know, as the world became bigger and people move away and people travel, you can stay up to date with people's lives and really feel connected to them, and even meet new people that might have the same interests or hobbies as you and who are like you, which is obviously absolutely amazing. And I cannot deny the fact that I have made some amazing friends via social media. There are people in my life who I would consider close friends that the only reason I met them was social media. Now, I have since met them in person. There are so many people that, especially in 2020, I think 2020 was it was so great to have social media, and it was so great to feel connected to people online in that way and feel like we're all in this together. Do you know what I mean? It is great, and you can make some amazing connections on social media, which is obviously an amazing thing. The second amazing thing with social media is for the people who, you know, you have a lot of acquaintances, or you have a lot of like casual friends who you maybe met in a period of your lifetime. Are you as close now? No. Do you like keeping up with their life and them keeping up with yours? Absolutely. Stunning. Another amazing use for friendship and social media. But then comes the crux of the issue, because I think this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and I haven't seen it discussed too much, and I don't really have like a fully fledged opinion on it, but I just kind of want to bring this to light. So if you are, you're connected with all of your very close friends on social media, I think social media can be used as a cop-out in friendships. Maybe cop-out isn't the right word, but basically what I'm trying to say is social media can make having close friends a lot more low maintenance, and not in a good way. If you have very close friends, right, and you always, see their Instagram stories, they post a lot on social media, whatever, so you feel connected to them based on the fact that you are watching their story, but they don't get that connection. It's not a mutual connection. Like when I'm watching my friend's Instagram story in Dubai or Canada or London, or my friends are very worldwide, wherever I'm watching their Instagram story from, I feel this connection because I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm seeing what's going on in their day, and they're posting that, but they're not getting that connection with me at that same time. Of course, they can click on and watch my story and feel that connection, but I'm not getting it. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to be very careful in your close friendships to not let social media be your main form of keeping up with someone. It's not keeping up with the Kardashians. Do you know what I mean? These people you know in real life. These people are your actual friends. You should send them a message, FaceTime, give them a phone call, reply to their story like every now and then to kind of check in, because I think social media runs the risk of us feeling like we've so many friends and all our close friends and we're seeing what's going on in their lives, but we're not feeling connected to them. So there's a loss of connection there. So I think it's a very important thing, and maybe you've never even thought of it that way. Like maybe you have all your close friends on social media and you're on their private story or Be Real or whatever, and you're getting your fill per se of their friendship, but are you really feeling connected to them? Or on the flip side, if you're someone who posts a lot on social media and maybe your friends don't post as much, like you could look at it from a content creator perspective. So for example, I post on Instagram, I post on TikTok, I post on YouTube, and I post these podcasts. So my friends can get an influx of me technically whenever they want. But if my friends don't post as often on social media, I don't get that of them. So the connection that they're feeling with me is only one-sided. So I think it's very important to actively, and maybe you never even realize this till now and you're like, oh my God, one of my best friends, I watch her stories, she watches my stories, but I don't know when I spoke to her last, like checked in and be like, hey bestie, is everything okay? What's going on in your life? Like, because via social media, like you're seeing little highlights and you're seeing little things, but you're not really connected to like them, what's going on in their life. Do they have any news? Are they dating anyone new? What's going on in their relationship? Like, are they working on any new projects? You're not getting that, and you're not getting that connection. And I'm such a big advocate for social media. Like, I think social media is amazing. I think there are so many positives, and I think at the end of the day, how you use it is how you will feel about it. Do you know what I mean? But I do think at the end of the day, it's very, very important to keep up with your friend. Like, maybe it goes without saying, like maybe some people are listening being like, obviously Rebecca, but I think especially for the younger generation, you can feel like you've all these friends and you can feel like you're connected to all these people, but are you? Like, when's the last time you spoke to them? Like, what's actually going on in their life? Social media is amazing. It's amazing for building friendships. It's amazing for meeting new people. The amount of like new people I've met via social media that we talk like consistently, like maybe once a week I would like slide into her DMs, reply to her story, like we've never met, but like we're on the same vibe, or like we'd voice note. And I think social media is so great for potentially meeting new people and building new friendships and, finding people who have the same vibes as you or the same interests and really like building that connection and community. But I do think then on the flip side of that, you can't rely on social media for your connection in your friendships, especially in your close friendships, I mean, at the end of the day, just because you're watching someone's Instagram story does not mean that you're a good friend or that you're checking in on them and checking up on them and being someone who is a good friend. Because at the end of the day, friendships, relationships, anything in your life, any connection that you have with another human takes work. Because I know it's such a running theme that people always say relationships are work, marriage are work, like staying with one person, monogamy, whatever, that's work. So is every other relationship. So is your relationship with your parents, your siblings, your dog, your friends, your close friends, your boss. Every single thing that is a relationship takes two people. And I think sometimes people feel bad for maybe distancing themselves from a friendship where they felt like they were giving their 50%, but they were getting nothing in return. Obviously, in life, you don't give to receive. I'm not saying that everything is transactional, because transactional friendships are a whole different kettle of fish that thankfully I have not had too much experience with. When it comes to actual friendship, you shouldn't do something in the hopes that they'll do something for you, but almost you should act the way that you want to be treated. And if you're not feeling like the energy is being matched or reciprocated, you are more than entitled to reassess a friendship. Do I feel like I'm putting more effort and energy in than they are? And you know what? Sometimes it takes a bit of communication. I mean, if there is someone in your life who has always been such a close friend and you feel like there is something going on, or you're not as close, or you haven't seen them, or you don't really hear from them anymore, or you feel like you're always the first person to make the first communication, I think sometimes you could definitely have a conversation being like, look, I value our friendship way too much to just let this like fizzle out, or to just let this like keep going on. I love our friendship and I would hate to see it go, and I care too much about you to just let something small get in the way. Sometimes, especially, I don't want to stereotype, but especially with girls, especially being Irish, I don't know, sometimes people can be very passive aggressive, and sometimes people can have a problem and just not communicate it, and you can feel none the wiser. So I think it's important, if someone is important to you in your life and you feel like for whatever reason there is distancing, number one, you have to be self-aware in that moment and be like, okay, have I reached out? Have I been a good friend? Have I done something that maybe hurt them or offended them in any way? And then if your answer to all those things is no, like there's no problem with reaching out, being like, hey, I'm just like, is everything good? And sometimes it's just that's the vibe of the friendship, which is fine. You can have friends that maybe you don't see for months at a time or whatever, and then when you do see each other, everything's amazing. And in life, that is very probable that that will happen if you have friends that live in different countries and cities and hometowns and whatever to you. But if your friend lives in the same area as you and you go like months without seeing them, without talking and anything, and then like something comes up and you feel like it's kind of transactional, or it's when it suits them or something like that, then I feel like you are more than entitled to distance yourself from the friendship. Or it doesn't have to be that something went wrong to end a friendship. A lot of the time there's energy there, and I think if you're not feeling that energy, or you're not feeling supported, or you're not feeling you're contacted frequently as a friend, that you're only contacted like when it suits or anything like that, like you are more than entitled to be like, okay, to be like, right, this person really isn't kind of my close friend anymore. Like, we're friends and it's amazing and it's great, and if I see them it'll be great and fine, but I probably wouldn't class them as a close friend anymore, because your close friends in your life kind of ebb and flow. Of course, there's people that maybe have always been there and will always be there, but it is so normal for your close friends to ebb and flow throughout your life, based on what you're going through, what they're going through. Certain situations can bring people closer, certain situations can drive people far apart. But at the end of the day, I think the main thing in friendship is always kind of checking in with yourself and being like, am I being a good friend right now? Like, have I checked up on my close friends recently? Like, do I feel supported? Am I supporting? Am I being loyal? Because it's work. Do you know what I mean? And I think people forget that, like, to be a good friend and to maintain a good friendship, whatever about making new friends, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but to be a good friend and maintain a good friendship, there has to be a level of support there, being like, oh my God, you have this going on, so excited for you, hyping them up, like being there for them, you know, sending them a message, sending them a voice note. It can be so weird in a world of like technology and social media. And sometimes you can't read into things because, you know, some people have massive communication boundaries. Some people don't like going on their phone. Some people are very busy. But I think if you're checking in with yourself and you're like, okay, I'm being a good friend, I'm reaching out, I'm doing all of these things. So I'm doing what I'm doing on my end to maintain the friendship. And sometimes you have to take a step back, because if you feel like you're the one always putting in energy and always putting in effort and always sending the first text or sending the first voice note or whatever, you can take a step back sometimes. And sometimes you won't hear from those people. You know, sometimes it will be crickets and you won't really hear anything. And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to focus more energy on the friendships that I feel are fulfilling me. Because at the end of the day, friendships should fulfill you, and you should have friends that you feel safe with, and you should have friends that you feel respected by, and you should have friends that you feel like you could talk about anything with them. There would be no judgment, and also it won't be said in a different room, in a different situation. You should feel that your friends, no matter what you say, that it is a safe space. That's what I class as like really, really close friends, is that when I'm sitting in a group with really, really close friends, or one-on-one with a really, really close friend, that I can say absolutely anything. So that is what I would class as like the closest of close friendships. And they're like the peak of the friendships. Like they're like the rare 2, 3, 4, 1 person that you will have in your life. That won't be every single friend that you make. You won't have a group of like 15 people like that. I mean, you could, depending on how social you are, but at the end of the day, to have those like ride or die close friendships, they're rare. And you know, I think there's a lot to be said about keeping your circle small, because I feel like when you keep your circle smaller, you value your circle more. Whereas if your circle is quite large and there's people that come and go and there's different people for different things, and you know, I feel like I heard this on a podcast before, that you can have a friend for different things. Like you can have a friend you go to yoga with, you can have a friend you do this with, you can have a friend you do that with. And I don't know, is it the Taurus in me or what, but I'm like, I don't like that vibe. Like, I don't like, oh, this is my friend for this thing that serves me in this way. They wouldn't be my friend in all these other different ways. Like, I think that's a very early 20s perspective on friendship. I don't know, is that just me? I do not have a friend for certain things. Like, you're either my friend or you're not. Like, I'm very, like, not cutthroat with it, but, like, I don't like the idea of like having a friend for this and having a friend you go out with and having a friend that you would discuss your problems with and having a friend for whatever. I'm like, you're either my friend or you're not. Like, we're not doing this weird transactional, you're only my friend for going to yoga with vibe, because I've never been interested in that. I think the main thing about friendships is, as long as you feel fulfilled by your friendships and that happy when you're with a group of people, that you don't feel like when you leave a friend feeling drained or feeling energetically like, oh, that was a lot, or you know, that you don't feel like you don't leave feeling like, oh, that didn't really light me up in the way I thought it would, then you know that you're surrounded by good people. Now we're going to talk about if you don't feel that and you're like, Rebecca, I need friends. I have no friends right now. I'm going through it. I feel like I've no one to talk to. I feel like I've no friends. I feel like there's no one in my life that I have that relationship with. Like, where do I find them? Where are people finding friends in 2022? And this is me personally. This is where I would say I would find friends. I think social media is actually a big one. And I know we had a whole talk about social media at the start, but I do think that social media is such a great vessel to find friendships. And, you know, there's a lot of time and effort that has to be put in to get that level of close friendship. I think it's something like 1,000 hours or something. I don't know. You can Google it. I didn't, obviously. There's a lot of time to build that level of friendship, but I think start small, you know, comment on someone's photos, respond to their stories, like get a conversation going. Sometimes it will be reciprocated and sometimes it won't. And if it's not, just kind of move on. Do you know what I mean? Like you always have to be, I think when you're starting a friendship, you always kind of have to be self-aware going into it and like reading the vibes and the energy of the other person. I also think things like yoga, going to the gym, like do things that you are interested in. I think when you do things that you are interested in, you will meet people who are interested in those things, and ultimately you will have things in common, which is the basis of any friendship. So I think I know this is the most annoying advice, because you're like, bestie, I'm an introvert, I don't leave my room, I don't want to join group things to potentially make a friend. But I think, how much do you value friendship? Because sometimes you have to go a little bit out of your comfort zone to get what you want. And if you want a close friend, you're going to have to put a little bit of work in. You're going to have to put yourself, because whatever you're doing up till now isn't working. Do you know what I mean? Like, not being harsh, sitting in your room won't really get you new friends unless you find them on social media. Do you know what I mean? But I think you have to be very careful with the whole social media friendship thing, because it can be a bit dodge. If you're not putting yourself out there, how are you going to find the people? They're not just going to arrive at your bedroom door being like, hey, let's be besties. That's why I think the world of social media, like, it made us want things so instantly, and that instant gratification and all of that stuff. And it's like, you just kind of have to put yourself out there a bit more. I know it can be hard, and especially if you've gone through a few shitty friendships. If you want to make friends, it is so important to try put yourself out there, try join. You know, there's so many like connection circles, or, you know, depending on where you live in the world, there could be like sunrise swims going on, or hikes, or Facebook groups, and all these events that happen. That is where you're going to meet someone, because most of these people go to these things alone and are probably looking for friends also. Do you know what I mean? Like, most people who go to these organized events, whether it's a sunrise hike or whether it's yoga or whether it's a book club or whatever, they go to them alone hoping that they will get connection with someone. But I think the main thing is, if you're really like, I don't have any friends, you know, I can't maintain friendships, and you are just lost when it comes to making friends, always, with everything in life, the advice I give is like, are you a good friend to yourself first? Because if you're the type of person who is consistently talking down about yourself and not feeling good about yourself, and, you know, looking at the world through a negative lens or whatever, you're not going to attract the friendships that you want. You're not going to attract the people that you want, because those people are looking for people who are like them. So you have to be 100% comfortable on your own and in your own space and with yourself and with who you are. You have to put so much effort. I think the more effort and energy you put it into yourself and who you are and who you want to be, and, you know, what do you like and what do you not like, and figuring out who it is that you really want to be and who you want to show up as, the more effort and energy you put into that, the more you will attract people of that same energy. For example, when I say like putting effort and energy into friendships, I want to just add this example in. So, and you just have to be aware sometimes, and sometimes friendships take a bit of like give and take. So one of my closest friends, best friends, is living in Canada at the moment. And I was about to sit down yesterday and record this podcast. I was ready, everything, and she was FaceTiming me. Now, we do speak like every single week. We're always like, there's a running voice note always going on, but I hadn't like spoken to her on the phone in quite a while. I actually can't remember the last time. So in that moment, I was like, okay, I have my like this is like split second decision as well, because obviously the phone was ringing, and I just answered the phone and I was like, I'm not going to say a thing. The podcast is flexible. I can record it in the morning. I have not spoken to this person face to face or on FaceTime in the longest, and like I value that. I am going to put the friendship first in this situation. And I think sometimes we have to do that, and we have to be mindful of, are we doing that, or am I putting myself first all the time? Like, am I putting a friendship first? And that's just a little thing. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in of like an example of how to be a good friend and how to put a friendship first and how to put effort and energy into a friendship, because friendships don't just happen. Like really, really close relationships are work. The more work you put in, the better it will be, as with anything. And before we end this podcast, I want to give one of my best friends a shout out. So if you're watching this podcast on Spotify or on YouTube, you'll probably see these beautiful gold hoop earrings that I'm wearing. My best friend has a vintage brand called By Barbara Ella, and it is available on ASOS Marketplace. So if you like vintage bits, then definitely check out that, because the last point that I'm going to leave you take home with is that you should be your friend's biggest hype woman, hype man, hype person, cheerleader. You should always go out of your way to hype up your friends, because there is no better feeling when your friends support you in what you're doing and when your friends hype you up. And to get that energy from people, you have to put that out. So whether it's, you know, congratulating your friend on what she's doing, asking about her job, even if you don't really know what she does, like if you don't really know what it is she does at work, but just asking, you know, hyping up their small business, sharing stuff on your Instagram story. Like social media is such a good way to hype your friends up, like every little thing that they're doing. No matter what your friend does, if they open a coffee shop, go to their coffee shop. If they have their own business, try and support it. And if you don't have the funds to support it, then share it online, because I think that is so important when it comes to friendship. Just be your friend's biggest cheerleaders. Just hype them up. The more you hype them up, the better, because you're not losing absolutely anything when you show up and support your friend. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I will see you next Friday. Don't forget, you can leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can comment down below. Yeah, I will see you next week. Goodbye.